The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now, 865-243-TALK. That's 243-8255. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show, playing some Payable on Death, otherwise known as POD, and their very popular song, Lost in Forever. Incidentally, a very good song for playing air drums to. I am Patrick Riggins, here every Sunday afternoon, waking you up out of your drowsy state. For my regular listeners, I am washing away any residual delusional thinking left over from your days of being sheep in a government-controlled tyranny. For my new listeners, and there are more and more each week, you are taking your first step towards learning the truth. Not the truth according to the conservatives, not the truth according to the liberals, but the real truth, the American truth that will truly set you and your mind free. We are proud to be airing this national awakening. You could even say a worldwide awakening right here from the station, currently being heard in parts of 5 states and 2 time zones. It is none other than 100.3 WNOX. I say worldwide awakening because the principles we have here apply to all humans, no matter where you are in the world. I am fighting for your natural rights, rights you possess merely because you are human, not because you are located in any specific country. If you normally live outside our coverage area of this radio station, you can still tune in every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or if it's more convenient for you, 1600 hours Greenwich Mean Time. Just bring up your web browser and type in our internet address, www.wnoxfm.com. There you'll be able to watch and listen to this radio show being broadcast in real time all over the world, informing oppressed populations everywhere of the rights due them. That address again is wnoxfm.com. And sitting here each and every week is our talented show producer, Tori. There he is, the voice you hear on just about every show on Sundays here on WNOX.
Smooth and golden tones.
Yes, and looking a little better this week from yesterday, I guess.
Still recuperating from yesterday, but it'll be over soon enough in 2 more weeks.
Yeah. You know,
I hate football.
I tell you, you and Spanky, that's a Spanky Brown show coming up after this. You guys just have your work cut out for you just each and every week.
we never run out of stuff to talk about, that's for sure.
That's the thing. You don't. It's kind of like this show. It's just always something out there. You know, if we had a government that acted correctly, then I probably wouldn't have just a whole lot to talk about. And in that same vein, well, I guess if the Vols were doing well, you'd still have something to talk about, though. You'd be in here cheering, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of crying.
Well, I can always find something to gripe about, so. Hey, the Vols, I'll find something else.
Yeah, I'm sure your wife is going, that's right. He'll gripe about anything.
And I'm good at it.
And he's good at it. Well, that's good. You know, as long as you don't go pro. Stay amateur, you can compete in the Olympics, you know. Thank you to all my regular and new listeners this week. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday afternoon to tune in to one of the fastest growing shows on the air today. For the new listeners, you'll find something refreshing on this show. Freedom. To paraphrase my opening, not freedom as defined by the government, not freedom as defined by conservatives or liberals, but freedom as is defined by humans, as we define it. The freedom to do what you want as long as you are not infringing on someone else's freedom. That's it. That's all there is to it. No extra ingredients, no fillers or preservatives, just fresh picked freedom grown right here in the good old USA.
Delicious.
You can smell it. But, and there always is a but, freedom this fresh doesn't stay fresh. It requires some care or it will get old, stale, and people will start to throw it out in the trash. Therefore, it requires you to constantly be caring for it, ensuring it does not go bad. One of the ways to do that is to stay informed and listen to what people have to say through a filter in your brain I like to call the libertarian filter. I guess that really isn't a totally accurate description. It could be called the human freedom filter or something along those lines, but you get the point. As you develop it, your brain will start poking at you when someone is talking about limiting your freedom that you're supposed to have, the natural rights with which you were born. A real good indicator of this is when you hear a politician talking about making you more safe or doing the, quote, fair thing. As you get better at discerning what these people mean when they say things like that, you'll be much better prepared to make the correct decisions on Election Day. I'm going to warn you, though, the people, the sheep, who choose not to wake up and be informed, those people will make fun of you. They'll try to tell you the many ways in which you are wrong, and you can try and lead them to the truth. A real good start is having them listen to this radio show, even if they hate it. Some little bit of truth will always seep into their brain and start to make a difference. But if they won't listen to me, and they won't listen to you, then just ignore their delusional thinking. If they want to continue to live in the fog of government control, then so be it. Do you know what happens when the government tries to provide everything to everyone? Just look at the response of people to Hurricane Sandy last week, an almost fanatical panic when people have to provide for themselves. What is going to happen to these people when our dollar finally collapses, when their money won't buy anything or very little because of hyperinflation? These are the people who will be dying in the streets because they have given up before they have even started. These are the people who are so dependent on government that they don't have a clue what to do without it. These are the people who will be turning on you when times get tough. They aren't enlightened about freedom and liberty. All they know is governmental control. When that control is absent, they are not equipped mentally to handle that situation. They are accustomed to looking to government for all the answers. All right, we're up on the first break of a very short hour here on the Patrick Reagan Show. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll put, let's see, the Republicans on the boxing bag to start. And then we'll, after we, on the second half of the show, we'll have, there we go. Are they ready to rumble? And then on after the half hour, we'll be talking, we'll put Obama and his followers up on the bag then. So ought to be a great show. Stay tuned in. We'll be back after these messages.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Reagan Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
You know, I've been watching with amusement as the Republicans run around trying to figure out what went wrong on Election Day. I think it's funny because the answer is right in front of their faces. They just don't want to admit it. Romney lost because he wasn't a conservative candidate, and the Republican establishment hates conservatives. It really isn't any more complicated than that. If they had only run a truly conservative or libertarian candidate, hello Ron Paul, all the people, and I would argue the majority of American voters who agree with those principles would have come out to vote. Instead, the Republicans were trying to out-Democrat the Democrats. Unfortunately, a significant portion of the voters who turn out to vote act like children of divorced parents, playing one off the other until they get what they want, with both parents spending more and more money on them in the hopes that they will love them more and thus give them their vote. The unfortunate thing is the Republicans are like some dysfunctional father. Instead of standing strong on principles, they participate in this, trying to outspend and outpromise the Democrats when the children they are trying to win keep yelling, "I hate you," but they still don't get the message. If we only promise more, if we spend more, then they'll like us. No, they'll like you later when they are mature adults. when they realize the folly of their childlike behavior. But for now, you have to understand they are immature children who only respond to being spoiled. You have to stand firm and continue the education process, expecting more and more from them while giving less and less. Now, as they grow, they will start to mature and come around to the correct thinking. But for now, they are children wanting whatever they think will make their lives better. We do a disservice giving it to them, just like you do a disservice to a child in responding in that same fashion, giving them whatever they think is best for them when you know better. Almost half of this country is on some kind of government assistance. Half. That makes it pretty certain a number of people hearing my voice right now are included in that number. We cannot continue along this path, running up the debt and expecting someone else to pick up the tab. Hey, Republicans, when you run someone who is not materially different than the current president, how do you expect to win? Just look at Apple. When you go out and buy a new iPhone or iPad or whatever, if there are no obvious improvements or differences between the one you had and the newer one, well, would you go out and buy it? People buy if there's something different, if they can get something better. If there are no improvements, then why buy it? New and not improved. In fact, there is not much difference between what you have now and what I want you to buy. What organization other than government tries to sell you something like that? On the Democratic side, a lot of these people vote for Obama because they have been sold on the whole idea that the deck is stacked against them. Well, I hate to admit this, but the deck is stacked against them. Because in America, in order to prosper, we expect you to go out and work. And in reality, half of America does not want to work. They won't want to show up at work on time, work a full day, go home and do it all again tomorrow. They just don't want anything to do with that. And why? Because most people are going to take the easiest way out, not the hardest. That's just human nature. Unless we can get more of the people who don't believe in that way to turn out to vote, then this is the type of person we're going to have elected. Romney didn't even get the votes that McCain received. So he is worse than McCain? The Republicans also say they don't know why a lot of people stayed home and didn't vote. The answer is real simple as well. You cannot treat Ron Paul supporters like crap and then expect them to come out and vote. You know, the establishment thinks, well, who else are they going to go vote for? Well, idiots, they just won't vote or vote third party. You didn't expect that, did you? People aren't going to let you screw them over and then show up and reward you with their vote. These things have consequences. You cannot run roughshod over an increasingly major part of your party and don't think anything is not going to happen, that there won't be any repercussions. Oh, look now, they'll say, now you have Obama back in for 4 years. Well, let's say everyone who stayed home or voted third party went ahead and voted for Romney. Then what would the establishment have learned? Nothing, because their guy won. Look, they can't even learn the lesson when their guy loses as a direct result of what they have been doing within the party, ignoring the outcries for a true conservative candidate. To be honest, the Republican establishment doesn't want the conservatives and libertarians in their party. Do you ever wonder why they go out and work so hard to court the Hispanic and black vote without worrying about the conservative and libertarian vote? It is because they look at how those groups cling to the Democratic Party and they are jealous. Those types of people reliant on government for everything. The Republican Party establishment covets their votes more than the self-reliant and working people. It's like they identify with them more than they identify with you. They thought that no matter who they put up, we'd all show up and back their candidate by voting for them, even though we didn't like their guy. They thought we would hate the other one more. The conservative commentators have also been screaming and yelling about how you threw away your vote if you didn't vote for Romney or you voted third party, how you might as well have voted for Obama. No. If I'd voted for Romney, then I might as well have voted for Obama because they are practically the same thing. Hello, Romney care. Romney said it over and over. I even played it right here on this very show. I want to repeal and replace Obamacare. Not get rid of it. Not saying it was unconstitutional. He didn't have any problem with the government interfering in the health care of Americans. So all you conservative commentators who are so quick to throw Ron Paul and his supporters under the bus, what have you learned? In reality, probably nothing. Because you are clinging to Romney like he was the savior of the country when he wasn't. You were telling all of us that if we didn't vote for him, then we would be to blame for Obama getting another term. This is akin to blaming the store that gets robbed for being open. What? Because you put up a status to run against another status, I'm the one to blame for him losing? No. The Republican establishment is the one to blame for nominating an obviously bad candidate in the first place. Don't blame me for not voting for their incompetency. That's not my fault. In fact, all those conservative commentators who have been all over us this whole week, you were co-conspirators in trying to get the wrong person elected. We all sat out here and heard you make fun of Dr. Paul, saying he was kooky, his foreign policy was not based in reality. No, it was you guys and gals who were living in a fantasy world if you thought we would vote to put your guy in office based solely on the fact that he wasn't Obama. Every one of you commentators and pundits and advisors, you all knew about Romney care. You all heard Mitt's speeches, his unconstitutional goals. And you thought we would just sit out here, hold our collective noses, and reward you for picking such a person? Who is living in a fantasy world now? For the life of me, I cannot understand how some of these people have any radio show audience at all after the debacle that was this last election. And the fact they were marching along, backing this so-called moderate who is really a liberal. Day after day, week after week, trying to sell us on this lemon of a candidate. Sorry. Unfortunately for you guys, we are starting to be heard, and after this election, our actions are starting to be felt. But even now, the Republicans still haven't learned anything. It only took House Speaker John Boehner 24 hours to go from, we aren't raising taxes, that was on election night, to, hey, we're open to raising taxes, the very next day. To be honest with you, I had gone out and found the audio of Speaker Boehner, but after sitting in the official Patrick Regan show editing room and listening to him drone on and on, I decided it was all just too boring to play on this show. And that's sad. Sad that I've lost patience with the so-called representatives in Washington and government in general, that I don't even want to listen to what they have to say. I don't want to hear the excuses and lies anymore. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time. You know, that's why I don't have politicians on my show. I'm not going to sit here and listen to how they're going to reach across the aisle and pass something unconstitutional or work with the president to ensure they pass common sense legislation that, again, is unconstitutional. Do you people in Washington understand the Constitution represents the law of the land? Yet you expect me to sit out here and cheer and congratulate you for ignoring it. Anyway, we're up on another break. That's how quick this show goes by. So we've been smacking around the Republicans' Romney a little. So next up, it'll be Obama and the Democrats. We'll talk a little bit about them after this break coming up. This is the Patrick Regan Show, and I'm Patrick Riggins, along with Tori, playing us a little music there. Who is that? I can't remember who.
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot, that's it. He also sang Edmund Fitzgerald, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right, this is Patrick Riggins. A little trivia that no one cares about.
I do.
Yeah, Tori does. We'll be back after these messages.
Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show. Just chilling it down just a little.
Can I have a hug, Patrick?
If I have to choose between the hug and the kiss, you'll get the hug.
Group hug. Yeah, good times.
Good times.
Good times.
Good times.
Good times.
That's
yes,
good times, yeah. That almost sounds like the golf people. Tori is up on the third green.
You hear
It
somebody in
breaks.
the background.
Hit it, Tori! Get it! Yeah, they really need to do that. Kind of like on, what was that, Billy Madison?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Same actor.
Yeah.
Wrong movie.
Happy Gilmore,
Happy
that
Gilmore,
was
that's
it.
it,
Yeah. It's one of those. Billy Gilmore or Happy
If
Madison.
they made golf a full contact sport, it'd probably make it a lot more interesting to watch.
It would. As it stands, though, it's good if you're a little tired and you need something else to kind of get you to sleep. You just turn that on. Yeah. Eat some turkey and turn that on, you'll go right to sleep. Stop spending all that money on Ambien.
Yeah.
All right. Golf, the natural relaxer.
No prescription required.
No prescription required. Just a hefty amount of methadone.
Side effects may include.
Yeah, sleep. Oh, gosh. Now I'll have golf people calling me. Golf isn't that bad. It's interesting.
This is the comedy portion of the show.
Well, it's the attempt at comedy portion of the show. The comedy portion of the show will be the second hour of this show called the Spanky Brown Show. That'll be the comedy portion of the show. Anyway, getting back to politics, I've been hammering the Republicans that last segment, but this segment, I would like to turn the guns of the Patrick Riggins Show towards you Obama voters with this simple question. And you're going to have to think a little bit about it. I would like to know, you Obama voters, why you believe it is okay to kill fellow humans. Not in self-defense, but kill these fellow humans without a trial. You can stand up and argue against the death sentence. You work to get laws passed, outlawing it everywhere you can, yet you allow it to happen if your guy, President Obama, is in charge of the killing. I'm speaking of the drone attacks this president is so proud of carrying out all across the world, killing people he has designated as terrorists without a trial, no chance to argue their case in court. These people are given a death sentence without them even having the knowledge it has occurred. No appeal. Heck, with no trial, I don't see how you could expect to get an appeal. President Obama has bragged about how he is in charge of maintaining and approving the list of people who are to be killed on sight. And you people who are backing and voting for President Obama, well, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you're guilty as accessories to murder. How many times have you wondered throughout history how people could have supported Hitler, knowing he was wholesale killing people? How could they support him? Yet a lot of Germans did. And their left is so righteously indignant about those Germans doing so. Yet they'll go to the wall to defend their guy Obama for doing the same thing. Of course, Romney was going to continue the policy, but he hasn't been in the position to make that call. Obama has been and currently still is. And brags about the killing, brags about it. And it isn't just people designated as terrorists who get killed. On most of these strikes, quite a few others get killed as well. Yet the liberals dismiss it all, gladly reveling in the fact they have innocent blood on their hands. Are any of you Obama voters Christian? What do you think is going to be done to you when you die? Do you think you are going to have to answer for condoning and approving this behavior? You knew Obama was murdering people, yet you gave it your approval by voting for him. No, I'm not overreacting. Killing is murder, is it not? Doubly so when you do it without so much as a trial. And don't give me this war on terror BS. I don't want to hear it. We are not at war. If we were, Congress would have issued a declaration of war, which they haven't. So without a declaration of war, all these killings are murder. They aren't self-defense. These people aren't trying to shoot me from Yemen. If they are, I'm not too worried about it. The bullet probably isn't going to make it to Tennessee. So Obama voters are accomplices to murder, correct? Tell me where I'm wrong on that. If I know someone is murdering people and I facilitate it, then I'm an accomplice, plain and simple. I don't know of any better way to facilitate Obama's murdering people than voting him back into office. Do you? I mean, the truth hurts, doesn't it? But that's what you're going to get on this show, the truth. One of the things I stated when I started this show was that a lot of times the truth is not pretty. It is ugly. But that doesn't make it any less true. You can hide from it. You can refuse to believe it. But it is still there. And eventually you're going to have to deal with it. So all you Obama voters, enjoy the next 4 years as your guy continues to kill innocent people, human beings, just like you and me, without any reason other than the fact that he says they're guilty. And a lot of them will die just because they were in the area that the drone strike occurs. Nothing really different than what has been happening in this country with all the innocent people being gunned down for no reason, other than the fact they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yet we scream and yell about it then, but are remarkably silent when it happens overseas, to someone we cannot see, murdering those without a face. I can't really remember when that was ruled to be a death sentence, but in this new world, I guess anything goes. Nothing matters as long as your guy is calling the shots. All your principles, all your morals, none of those matter. All that matters is a Democrat is in office of the president. I guess after Bill Clinton's antics, nothing should really surprise me. The people who voted for him probably wouldn't have tolerated their own employees acting that way. But it's okay if their government employee, the president, acts that way and then perjures himself. That's fine. I am just constantly amazed at how people set aside their standards when it comes to their representatives. I think it has a lot to do with their pride and ego. They are from my party. Therefore, they can do no wrong, even if they wouldn't do that in their personal lives. President Obama still has people who haven't been charged or tried in any court imprisoned at Guantanamo Bay, despite his word to close it, despite all his rhetoric against it, and despite the left's screaming about it during George W. Bush's presidency. Again, it's okay if their guy is in charge. President Obama signed the National Defense Authorization Act, which in part allows the indefinite detentions of Americans without a trial. Do you Obama voters agree with this disregarding of the Constitution when it comes to the rights of those the government has confined, the right to a speedy trial, to confront witnesses and evidence against them, to counsel of their choosing? President Obama also believes he can fight any war without asking Congress for a declaration of war, much as past presidents have felt. But the Constitution requires this. Yep, you Obama voters are part of that as well. If you wouldn't approve doing it in your personal life, then why do you give it approval by voting for someone else to do it? Are your hands not just as dirty if you commit a crime than if you allow someone else to do it by voting for them, by giving your tacit approval to their behavior? I ask you again, were you outraged when you saw innocent people shot these last couple of weeks? Would you vote to allow the shooter to go free and even encourage them to continue killing? That's what you did when you voted for President Obama. Can you sleep at night knowing that? Does it help just to ignore it? To tell yourself these other fellow humans, maybe they had it coming, or that they really aren't human since they live in a faraway country under different laws, in a different culture, with different beliefs. Does that help you reconcile your decision to vote for Obama? I know it helped the Germans to denigrate the Jews, to look at them as subhuman. That made it easier to slaughter them like cattle. Just think of them as some dumb animals without any sort of brain or soul. Is that what it takes to allow you to sleep at night? Or is your rabid and fanatical hatred of those Republicans, is that what drives you? That psychopathic thinking which allows you to excuse the cruel and criminal execution of other people on this earth. These are things I'm sure as an Obama voter you didn't consider. Or maybe you did and are fine with them. I would sincerely hope it is the latter is not the case, because then you'd truly be a psychopath. We're up on the last break here on the Patrick Riggins Show. We're going to take a break and let your blood pressure come down. And we'll be back with the last segment. Ought to be a good one. Join us in a couple of minutes.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show. A little symphony. I can't even get that out of my mouth. Sympathy for the Obama voters. And the Romney voters. We'll smack them both around here. All the regular listeners know that's what's coming anyway. Here on the last segment of the show, I want to talk about Veterans Day. Because today is Veterans Day here in the United States. And of course, I have a little bit to say about it. First off, I would like to thank the veterans, of which my father is one, for their service and sacrifice for our nation. Any veterans in your family, Tori?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. And so thank you.
Friends, best friends, family, thank you very much.
Secondly, though, I would like to apologize to these same people for them being sent into harm's way for no other reason than a screwed up foreign policy, a policy that seeks to build an American empire across the world, an empire of little Americas in every country, whether the people in those countries want it or not. On this day, we thank the veterans for defending our freedom. The problem is, our freedom has not really been threatened externally for a long time. Unfortunately, the place our freedom is truly being threatened is right here in our own country, by our own government, our fellow citizens whom we have elected to office. What we need to do is work towards not having to have a Veterans Day, because we will not have fought in any wars. That doesn't mean we don't have a strong and ready military, because only through strength can there be peace. But just because you have strength, it doesn't mean you have to exercise it without provocation. Yes, we were attacked on 9/11 and recently in Libya, but would these attacks have happened had we not been poking around in other countries' business? If we mind our own business and still are attacked, then we have every right to defend ourselves and go to war with any country attacking us. But if we're attacked by people holding an ideology, then what do you do? Well, you certainly don't start restricting the rights of your own citizens in response. In doing that, the attackers only prove themselves all the more effective. You cannot physically fight a religion any more than you can fight any other idea. In fact, by fighting against an idea, you will inadvertently find yourself reinforcing it. So how do you fight an ideology or a religion? The short answer is by example, by staying out of other countries' business and working to provide a shining beacon on the hill of freedom. Sure, it sounds Pollyanna, but it works. It respects the freedom of the citizens of the United States and the freedom of people in other countries to make their own decisions as to who they want leading them. If someone seizes power in a country, it isn't our job to take them out. What if they start killing their people? Well, okay, do we go in and fight that government? What do we do after we defeat it? Do we install someone else? We have tried that over and over in countries around the world. It doesn't work. Do we monitor elections and let the people decide? What if they choose someone we don't like? What if they choose someone we do like? but they get overthrown in a few years. Do we go back in again? Where does it all end? We keep entangling ourselves in these wars around the world, and all it does is create problems for us. It kills our soldiers. It costs us money we cannot afford. It breeds contempt. So why do we continue to do it? Because, as many of you already know, there is a lot of money in it. Right now, the United States is the largest arms dealer in the world. We have 78% of that market. The country coming in second is Russia with 6%. Again, we are at 78%. Russia comes in second at 6%. And you wonder why war seems to be the answer for everything we do. Got some terrorists? We need a war on terror. Got some substances or plants the government deems illegal? We need a war on drugs. Got some poverty? We need a war on poverty. Got some illiteracy? We need a war on illiteracy. War here, war there. Everywhere's a war. We need war. But if we didn't do this, then our citizens, our people might start thinking they should have more freedom. There we go. There's Tori coming in. Yeah. Our citizens will start thinking they want more freedom than the government thinks they should have. Government's answer to everything is a war. Because a war allows you to take away the freedom of the citizens. Because we're in a war. Don't you understand? What do you not understand about a war? It isn't a fight. It isn't a skirmish. It's a war. And we are at war. We have to make sacrifices. Is the government going to sacrifice? Oh, heck no. Is it going to give up its privacy? No way. But you are going to. Is the government going to be more transparent? To use the term the president likes to throw around? No way. But everything you do is going to be looked at, examined, whether you like it or not. After all, it's a war. What don't you get about that? We, the government, say you are going to need to give up a bunch of your rights so we can protect you. Don't you want to be protected? Well, even if you don't, we're going to do it anyway. We march into other countries without their consent. What makes you think we aren't going to do the same thing to your house? Which, by the way, we're already doing. Let me ask those Obama voters again. Are you happy with all this intrusion? Is this what you voted for? Less privacy for American citizens? A bigger and more powerful police state? The last time I checked, liberals weren't too happy with those sorts of things. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. It's your guy doing it, so it's okay. Anyway, again, thank you to all the veterans and everyone else that are listening to the show. Even to those veterans who aren't listening, your service is still greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, let's start working to make the changes needed in this country to bring our soldiers back home. We don't need any more of them dying for a bunch of ungrateful people in another country. The only reason they're there is just because of a flawed foreign policy. This is Patrick Riggins. You're listening to the Patrick Riggins Show, the show that's just driving both sides crazy. If you want to know more about it, you can go to facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show.
The show that pokes the bear.
Pokes the bear, yes. We run down that cage with the stick in front of the tigers. If you want more information about us, facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. You can go to Twitter at twitter.com/Patrick Riggins. And let's see, you can also go to YouTube. youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. All the old shows are on there. Anything you want to know about us is on there. And you can also email me at patrickrigginsshow@gmail.com. This is Patrick Riggins. Thank you again for listening. Yeah. Thank you again for listening. This is Patrick Riggins. Next week, we'll fight for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. Join us next Sunday afternoon, 2 to 3. Have a great week.
Join us again next week for a solid dose of truth on the Patrick Riggins Show. Every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Be there.